teaching in the studio, I have to be very wary that I don't step in front of the green screen while my students have a camera, because they usually take advantage of it in ridiculous ways.
I'm sure, why not? Not going to pretend like I wouldn't do the same.
I've been to the pyramids. I've been to.
You've gone on an adventure. That's funny.
The kindergartners were they did the green screen stuff last week. They did a weather show. It was super cute. Yeah.
That is fun.
Any word from Chris? Miranda? I know he sometimes calls through you.
Oh, yeah. I was like, what are you talking about? No, sorry, Jesse. It's been a day. I don't know what you want from. What do you want from me? No, I have not heard from him. He also has not called. I know he's kind of phasing himself out a little bit. He does not plan to seek reappointment. I will tell you that.
Yeah.
So I do not think he'll be joining us. I had a moment where I was like, Chris, who? That's terrible. That's how you know it's been a long day. I don't even know who anyone is anymore.
No, that is
Chris's in this world.
There are. I was like, when you said Chris, I'm like, Chris Pelletier. I don't even know why he would join.
Like,
this is why I go by CT.
Seems so odd. Oh dear.
There's always a bunch of Chris's around.
True. So true.
Yeah, if in doubt at the bar, just put it on Chris's tab.
Please don't, actually.
That's a great idea. Round of drinks on CT.
All right.
Okay, at least I get credit, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's very wise. So this is everyone then, because there's no Sam and no Brian today. So.
Pam Hill is here.
Hey, Pam, thank you for joining us.
Hi, I finally got through. It didn't like me for a little bit, but I'm here.
So I know. Well, let's just get started, and then I'll talk to you. So it's all in the agenda. And we have Ari.
Yeah. Hey, I'm here. Just trying to get my my camera working. It's not working wonderfully right now, so I am just playing around with that. Thank you.
Yeah, technology. We've had a power outage for like 10 hours today, so. I'm not my finest either.
My camera makes me look like this, so it's not so good either.
All day at home. So we have Eric. Yes, we have John. You there, John? Yay. Yep. Awesome. We have CT, myself, and Ari. And it is, let's see, 7:05. Sam said he had the minutes ready, but I didn't see them get sent out again, so I gotta follow up with him.
Yeah, I didn't see him either.
Yeah, he did say they were ready, but then I've just been checking through tonight. It's like couldn't find them. So public, we have Pam on the line. So I'm hoping to get back to Pam. Pam is gonna maybe hopefully touch base with us about dog park stuff a bit later, so we'll see if we can fit that in at some point. Thank you so much for joining us. It's super nice to have people. And someone else. Hi, Sue.
Hey there.
Yeah, public comment. So if anyone has anything they want to drop in right now would be a great time before we get going. Otherwise, yeah, just put your hand up, or just go ahead and ask if it's
I'll just throw this out that just so that Miranda knows, we got all the radios for the club up today, just like half an hour ago, so we're good.
Cool. Ham radios.
Well, just so we can talk with the Frozen Dead Guy group.
Oh.
It's kind of like an interface between police, Frozen Dead Guy, like a comm center.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I did text Charlie. I was like, I'm going to send an email if you didn't get them. And he was like, we're supposed to be getting them. So I'm glad to hear that.
So I guess Miranda, is it you that's going to be doing the solar management practices?
Oh no, we should have Cynthia. Let me see where Cynthia's at.
We can totally come back to that
Yeah,
too.
you want to come back to that?
Yeah. So I'll just move on to the next item, which is the Barker Shorelines Trails project. Don't have too many updates on that. The last thing is we just got sent the final layouts of the signs yesterday. So for the interpretive panels, and she did have a couple of questions. I'm going to go ahead and put this in chat, I think, because all right, this is one of the questions she asked. So she wanted to know, she's like, this is like the paragraph, one of the opening paragraphs on the history panel, and it says homesteading, exploring, music and the arts all play big roles in Netherlands past. They remain local passions here today. But they've italicized the final sentence. So they've italicized, they remain local passions here today, and added the exclamation mark because she said it looked a bit flat. Does it need to be italicized with an exclamation point? That is the question.
Without objection, that's fine.
I could go either way on the exclamation point. It's like sometimes there's too many these days. But
I agree that it's an overused punctuation, but in the spirit of an engaging public sign, sure.
yeah.
You could do the 3 dots.
No, there's not ellipses. I will not condone ellipses, but I'm on board the exclamation point.
Hyphens in between each
We
word.
got rid of the hyphens. Come on,
We've
you're anti-hyphen.
talked
and
about this.
anti-dot.
I am.
Now we're bringing in the exclamation points just to jazz it up.
She teaches anti-punctuation.
I like to keep it minimal, keep it simple. Except for this exclamation point. I'm not going to die on this hill. If you guys want to go period, fine with that too.
It's fine. I mean, these are pretty minor. Like it's not too egregious. She did get all the photos in, so she got the one that we really liked with Jim Gershio. Managed to get the funds for that with the photos that we provided. So I was pleased with that at least. Yeah. The next question she had was, this is about the interpretive sign. She says, the list of Caribou Ranch artists includes only one woman, Joni Mitchell. We thought it would be desirable to add another female and are suggesting one of these: Stevie Nicks, Carole King, Sheena Easton, Amy Grant. We would need to
Stevie Nicks.
That's the vote. Vote for Stevie Nicks.
Yeah,
That's a vote for Stevie.
Second.
Okay. Yeah, if we have a preference on that, let's do that. Okay. And then Miranda, I guess the last one was kind of a question for town because it was the QR code direct into the placeholder page, just to get a confirmation that that's the correct link.
Can't hear you, Miranda.
Sorry. Yes, that should still be the right QR code. We'll just be sure there's stuff on it before those get put up.
Can the QR code be changed?
What do you mean?
I'm worried about baking in a QR code to a website that may change its, address or.
I think one of my original recommendations was just to go to the home screen, and I know that wasn't overly popular, but I think I do think that's a safer way to go, is to do home screen.
Right, because if we ever change the URL, then it would redirect anyway.
It would just because that's what we're having now, is like not all of our old pages are redirecting.
Exactly. That's what I'm worried about, is that we are already having this problem, and I'm worried about making that problem again.
Right.
Keep it as simplistic a funnel as possible. Just send it to the homepage.
I mean, I think maybe one of the concerns is like once you were on the homepage, then it wasn't.
You were like,
it wasn't so obvious where you would go. I mean, let me just share screen a little bit here. Like we could talk with Peter about maybe changing one of these boxes down here just to be the challenge with the top is that this is scrolling constantly, but we can get whether, probably not one of these boxes, but maybe here, somewhere we could get it on the front, on the home page at least, so that they're not going digging in our site to get to it.
Well, most people are going to be looking at this on a phone anyways, if they're scanning a QR code. So if there's a hamburger link to history, that's got to be easy enough for people to figure out.
Yeah, I can talk with Peter. I mean, if everyone's open, I do think it's better to go to the home screen.
Yeah, and I mean, just as long as it's kind of intuitive as to where to find the history page from there.
Okay. I'll connect with Peter and we can talk about location.
Yeah, I wonder if it could be under the Explore Netherlands menu item.
Yeah.
Is one of the things that drops down from there, because that would be probably if I scan that QR code and I want to government, community, and Explore Netherlands, I'd probably think, oh, Explore Netherlands.
That'll be, Explore Netherlands history as well.
Okay.
Sense.
So do you want me to send Michelle the QR code that takes us to our page instead, Jesse?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Okay, I will get that over to her.
Simplifies things a little.
Sounds good. Well, I'm happy to report. Can I jump to a little different subject?
Yeah.
We have made progress with Boulder, City of Boulder, which is great. So language is not quite what Chris wanted, but we ended up attorney to attorney. Had a meeting with their attorney, Jennifer Madsen, and Jennifer Madsen has very minimal concerns. We cleaned up any language that felt like it was not in Netherlands' favor. So there is still town granting Boulder an easement to access the Weir Bridge. We'll get a license agreement because that allows for flexibility should we want to have phase 2 or phase 3 and do a little bit more. And then at some point in time when we're ready to like lock it down, we'll do an easement. So as long as, for me, I felt like as long as Attorney Madsen didn't see any concerns and there wasn't liability for town, the plan is she's going to help clean up the language. We will bring it before this board for review, just to make sure you all agree, and then we'll get it signed by all parties. And so getting that signed is key to finishing the bathrooms and being able for PROSAB or for Public Works to actually construct the trails on their property. So happy to report that moved somewhere positive.
That's great.
So what does that mean in terms of moving forward with the work in that zone?
Yeah, so we'll still need it signed. So they actually didn't have many concerns with getting it signed on their end. And so it's a matter of getting it before the Board of Trustees. My feeling, Eric, is just consent agenda that. I don't feel like why it would need a discussion, but someone could pull it if they wanted. We'll get it before them. So we're probably looking at maybe 90 days before it's signed by all parties. So just in time for trails maintenance work.
Awesome.
Nikki and team could finish. We did have an unfortunate situation today, though, where Frozen Dead Days did plow almost down the brand new fence. So our concerns are still very valid as they once were of just what is the damage we're going to be facing post-event. So that I think we're going to have to revisit that timeline when it's summer and we can really assess that damage and know like what's the work that was already done that we have to redo now, plus what's the new work and how do we get all that done by March?
What number do you know like what number of attendees they're expecting this weekend?
Yeah, they did send us a number. So it's about, looks like Saturday is the highest at 3,000. So that rumor of 29,000 is just that, a rumor. It looks like they're averaging like just shy of 1,000 on Friday, 3,000 on Saturday, and like 1,600 on Sunday. Is where they were as of this morning. Yeah. Right.
How did that rumor start, if I can ask? Because even I saw that on Netheads and I was like, what is going on? Like, what is that?
Yeah, I have no idea. I unfortunately don't know where that started. So we did hear directly from the organizers. So I think in terms of impact, it's not too bad. I think the downfall is, and I understand given the circumstances of the snow, some things were unavoidable. They did have a pretty new snowplow driver, it sounds like. and just inexperience plowed, pushed snow too hard and broke the fence. Nikki can't really assess damage until there's no snow. So that's, you know, and then of course mud when all this melts, when the weather's nicer on Saturday, you know, what are we looking at? We all knew that going into this. So I think, but my only concern for Nikki is how much work is that team gonna have to do of the stuff they did this past summer? How much are they having to repeat?
Do you know, I guess, I wonder, did you guys or Nikki take a bunch of pictures before the snow? Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, you know, especially which was a large deposit that we took. You know, if we're going to keep anything, we want to have, and Nikki and I talked about that, like, you know, we need to be careful that we're itemizing it and we have the proof. So she did take pictures today when it broke. So we did walk it with them. They chose not to take photos. That, of course, is with us. They may have done their own. We don't know, but they didn't take photos when we took photos. So yes, we are going to be prepared to kind of show before and after when needed.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully the snow will help. I feel like maybe that'll help the churning of the ground and the mud and hopefully.
Yeah. I think, you know, it'll be interesting. You know, our goal is to hire, I know, sorry, I'm going a little off track here, but our goal is to hire 2 new parks people. I think everyone may know Chad did not work out. Chad was the parks lead we hired, who was the runner-up to Nikki for parks manager. He actually only worked with us for 3 days and then moved to California. So it was a bummer. So we're going to actually hire 2. We're going to hire 2 parks and trails maintenance people. That will give her a team of 4. And then we'll be looking for volunteers, but I think that maybe puts her in a better spot. So we're actively interviewing right now to find hopefully the right people for her to have a team. So that way between parks and streets, we would have 7 people who could support.
Is this permanent positions?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, we have you know, because Chad didn't work out and we've got some of the savings from Chris, we're able to make it work to be able to onboard too.
Oh, that's great. I hope some awesome people apply.
Yeah, I did some pre-screening today and there were some really great candidates, and you know, I think local is always hard, but luckily the cool thing about parks is there's no on-call component for them, at least not right now. So we aren't as worried about those who live in Boulder or Longmont. We actually have a couple in streets right now who live there and it seems to work. We also have some cool local candidates that just came through today, so perhaps we can have a good crew. I think she needs it right now, because right now it's like Nikki's like a team of 1.
Yeah. A lot of changes right now. So.
Yeah.
I mean, Nikki has also been keeping me updated with some of the art installation area. She's been getting some quotes from the different musical playground places. She got quotes from the harmony one, and then she got quote recently from the percussion play one too, and that they both seem really reasonable and good to work with, and like good turnaround timelines. So I don't know if we need to make a decision. I mean, I think we're all good on I heard back from like 3 people like percussion play would be the ideal one. It just seemed like you get more for the money. So yeah,
so that it looked nicer. It looked like a nicer set.
Yeah, it looked like less kind of samey. The other one was like
exactly.
two kind of the same xylophones that came with each other, but the percussion play was a bit different. So yeah, they seem really good. They seem interested. They seem super interested. Their representative took pictures of her daughter as like her senior photos of at Barker. So she was super excited. She was like, if we put the stuff in, we'll take media pictures and send it to the company, and that would look really good. And so yeah, I think we'll keep pushing forward with that. I met Nikki a few weeks ago out at the location, and we kind of just walked around and talked about some of the options for layout. I think it's going to be good, and we just kind of talked about the timeline for getting some of the volunteer crews too. I spoke to Wild Bear last week, and they are interested in getting a couple of their teenage groups, their youth groups, in on volunteering for tree days and mulch days and planting days. So continuing with outreach of that, if anyone has any leads.
Has this
guess-
project gone to the youth advisory board?
No, do you know when they are next meeting by any chance?
Off the top of my head, definitely not, but I'm sure Miranda has an idea.
But yeah, next time you're there, I'm at the library on Friday, so I could pop in and give
I mean,
them
I'm
a
never there.
spiel.
I've never been to a youth advisory board, but is it? It was Trustee Danforth was the liaison.
It's not, that hasn't really worked out. So there is a youth advisory board meeting tomorrow, but they're packed, Jesse. So I'm not sure that's the right one to pop in. Well, maybe in the afternoon if you came after 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because they have pretty tight agendas.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to come tomorrow, you could come. I think they're free. We have space from 1 to 2. That was just more like open discussion time.
Yeah, I could pop in because I'll
Okay.
be there till 2 anyway.
Cool. That'd be great. Yeah, we haven't had, Eric, to your question, we haven't actually had anyone from the Board of Trustees participate. Hoping the new board can have a liaison. So I think there's a little bit of confusion
Tanya
because
had said she wanted to do it.
there's a Mountain Youth Coalition, there's a Youth Leadership Academy, and there is a Youth Advisory Board. So I think I met with their new organizer yesterday, and it's like, where does it make the most sense to have a trustee? And it's probably the Youth Advisory Board, but Lindsay was attending the Mountain Youth Coalition, which is what Tanya was attending. So I just think there's a lot of confusion about like, what is the right avenue for a trustee? And I think it's Youth Advisory Board. It's my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we could just pop in and like give them some updates on Parks and Rec kind of info, especially the Barker as well as the bike park and some of this, just a little brief outline. I hope we could get some youth interest.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, they seem pretty active, so. So I think that's it. Miranda, does that mean, is there anything going to move forward with the restroom? Do you know then?
Yes. I actually asked them, I'm like, where are we? And I think they were in the same boat of wanting an agreement before they move forward. So Robbie's we want to try to hold our group meetings again. March is just a bad time. So I recommended us doing so in April. So I was going to invite them to one of our GoCo meetings and we can get those back up and running where they come and join us every month.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel hopeful. I really like I like Nikki's kind of conversation style of working through agreements. I think she's going to be a pretty proactive side of this. So. Do we want to do you want to do parks regulation? Do we have that, or do we need to push that back? I know we were hoping for.
I sent it to you all. Did you get it?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And I don't know.
I saw it. It was like 10 pages and yeah, a lot of editing in there.
Yeah, I didn't know if this is the right avenue. I guess my feeling is this maybe is not the right setting to do it. And if I could pull out Eric or whoever that is to work one-on-one with, that's probably better than using this time to go through all of the first questions.
And because it's such a BOT thing, in the end, I do think it probably has to be me that does it.
Yeah, well, you did such a good job working on the first revision, Eric.
Yeah.
I did have one question.
Most of the questions.
What they were saying was on page 2 towards the bottom, they're talking about weapons and explosives and projectiles. And it says, don't bring these things to the park. And it says peace officers on official duty are accepted. Okay. As are residential tenants of the county within their living quarters. And I'm like, what? Are we talking about people setting up tents that are county residents living in our parks and they can pack their weapons? I mean, I don't.
It doesn't make sense to me either.
So Eric, it may make sense though for us to work through this with soon to be Marshall Feinlevin and Attorney Madsen and just take maybe an hour and a half when you've got it to just kind of work through this. I mean, I meet with Jennifer every week. Maybe we could just dedicate one of those meetings to going through this.
Yeah, okay. But you see that last sentence there on the first
Yeah,
page.
because I mean, you would think private property is exempted because that's not Nederland Parks and Open Space.
Well, there was another question further down that Attorney Metzen had where she was like, "Do you mean everywhere or just in parks?" And I suppose that we need to just clarify everywhere where it's not clear that it's just in parks we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. This is all parks. This is just parks.
This is just parks.
Yeah.
I believe that's in the title.
Right, but it seems like maybe if it's going to be an ordinance, then each section of an ordinance probably should just be very clear on what it's referring to, I guess.
Huh.
You know, because you can cite an ordinance out of context pretty easily. So
Yeah.
rarely is somebody looking at the entire chapter of the code. They're looking at one section at a time for code enforcement. So we should probably clarify it everywhere.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, I think so. I think some of these questions can be answered very easily, and I just don't think that we need to do it as a group in order to do it.
Yeah.
And then
So how about
then I would come back with anything that is sort of, you know, contentious or controversial or, you know, remains unclear after that to you guys, and we could talk about a more limited set of issues rather than all of this stuff.
So if we have like specific questions or maybe issues with some of the verbiage, we'll just send it directly to Eric, and then you can spearhead that with the PD in town.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Thank you for doing that. It's pretty wordy.
Yeah, and also if anybody, like, just to reiterate what I said last time, is that this is kind of the kitchen sink version of potential parks rules and regulations, and I'm not like, you know, standing by any of these really that intensely. So if you think that we should eliminate some of these rules and regs, or, you know, that they're overbearing or not necessary, just let me know which section, and you know, we can talk about eliminating it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. It's pretty long. I mean, the same goes with kind of adopt a bench. It's more of something that I just kind of need to go over with Nikki, I think, of what she needs, what the Parks Department needs in relation to that. I know I have this like draft verbiage, which I don't think I've even got feedback from her on that. So, yeah, does anyone have anything on the adopt a bench that you want to pitch in on? I know we haven't talked about it for a couple of meetings. I mean, what do we need to do with that, Miranda? Like,
I think when you're ready, we'll bring it back to the Board of Trustees. Since I guess it wasn't really even official, like, moratorium, Eric, but it was like kind of. I think it's worth getting them to see, especially if we're looking for a fee schedule adjustment, which I think that's what we're proposing, right?
Yeah, I mean, now is like the slow season, so I think we've got a couple of months here before we could come. It would really pick up again, and then we've got 11 new benches going in this summer, so hopefully we can start getting some donations from this.
Right. The alternative is just to hold this program for all of 2022 and then bring it as a part of the 2023 fee schedule discussion, versus looking for a mid-year fee schedule amendment. It doesn't really matter, but if we could do it that way.
Okay, and just take applications and have them in process.
Yeah.
What do we need to do to bring it to the board again?
I think it's just, so PROSAB would make the recommendation, you would bring it to the board. It gets a little tricky post-election though, like the board struggle. I mean, you can't just start throwing things at them. They have to definitely get up and running. So I would say second meeting in May, if not one of the June meetings, would be most appropriate. Because they're gonna need to get up to speed on probably that historical situation of why we are even revisiting this, what the proposal was back at the fee schedule time. I don't know, Eric, I don't know if you have other suggestions, but I've just noticed that it's better to give them time to even understand like how a board functions.
Mhm.
Indeed. If we ever learn,
Fair. Yeah, so I mean, that's in terms of what does it take, it just takes PROSAB saying we're ready to send this back to the board.
Yeah. I think it would
Okay.
be frustrating if we had yet another like back to basics debate on Adopt a Bench. It would be nice if this could go more smoothly. So I think waiting might be just better strategically.
For like fees, the whole fee schedule time.
Well,
Or we-
not all. I mean, I think sometime in the summer would make sense.
Okay, got
I feel
Yeah,
it would
like
be
do they?
it would be a nice thing for this board to do, like to get their kind of legislative chops. You know, it's like something very simple, like an Adopt a Bench program.
Is there a kind and easy way to put this to the BOT, like be like learn about this before we bring the aim to you and get a feel for it?
Maybe we should make it a discussion item first.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a discussion item. You know, you could also, I mean, that's the only way to really do it, unless you all as individual PROSAB members want to take it upon yourself to go talk to the board about it ahead of time. That sometimes helps to create
The best
context.
way to go is lobbying.
Would some slides help? Like a short presentation, something like that?
Little PowerPoint, yeah.
Well,
I always think the board likes color and PowerPoints. I don't know, Eric, that's what I think, like to break up the monotony of these ginormous packets, like at least it's something interesting to look at.
I think that'd be nice, but I think that even nicer would be to see who the board is.
Yeah.
Maybe, just have a chat with some of the new members and see where they're sort of at on Adopt a Bench, because without doing it that way, it's hard to know.
Yeah. So do you think a discussion item May, June?
Yeah, I think June. Let's aim for June.
Yeah, I would be happy to put together, like a little presentation PowerPoint, just explaining the history of the benches and the purpose of it all.
We've got a very reasonable proposal. We ought to be able to present that in a very straightforward fashion. If it would be helpful, I'd be happy to appear before the board and just kind of sound them out about where they're at on the topic.
It does help. The more
Okay.
board members that can come and talk, it does help.
If you want to do it at an actual board meeting, you can always do it in public comment on non-agenda items and just sort of bring it up in that 3-minute, public comment period.
Sure. I'd be
Get it
happy.
on their minds.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm hoping that people will even be inspired to go ahead and pay the full amount and buy a new bench with the plaque. That would be pretty cool if we could start inspiring groups and people to do that. Get some seats in.
No, I retain a lively good faith in a solid Adopt a Bench program. I'm just astonished at the controversy.
Yeah. It's all experimental.
Just wait till I propose upping the speed limit on Big Springs.
Oh, please do. Sorry.
You're on the record. You're on the record.
Ooh, have you ever tried to drive it at the speed limit?
15 miles an hour, it's impossible. I can't, it's impossible. It's physically impossible.
So hard. It's so hard. Good. Common sense. All right, so there's no Ned rink, no tennis, because that would be a Nikki question. We do have trails.
I can give you a quick update. So obviously rink season closed. So Nikki was able to learn the Zamboni and do all that fun stuff. The agreement with Rink is that they would keep their funds from 2021 to 2022, the money that they made, so that they had it as the ability to be the match funding for a future GoCo grant. So we will then take over, financially speaking, 2022, 2023 season. So we do need to sort out what those logistics look like. Potentially, selling those passes, where we sell them from. We're gonna do the connection to the community center, where if you go buy a fitness pass, you can add that on. So we have a little bit of that sorting out to do, but I know that was a great experience. At least Nikki caught the last 3 weeks.
Can you buy those community center passes online, Miranda?
That's a great question that I don't know the answer to. I should.
Yeah, that's a great question. And then,
It'd be
yeah,
nice
if
if you
you,
could.
So
Yeah.
I think so. So no, actually, I was like, we can't take any electronic payments. We're not cool like that. We're working on it. So
Okay.
right now we have no ability to take electronic payments. We are looking at a SIPA grant, which is kind of the same portal that gave us our website. So we could do all online payments. And so I agree, it would be nice to be able to do that. We're just trying to sort out the accounting, whereas if Rita gets like one lump sum a month, like how does she break it out? We want to make sure it's not too complicated for her. So we'll look into that for this. Good point. Yeah.
I feel like membership would go way up if people could do that. People
Sure.
buy online and then they might not even show up anyway. But it's, yeah, you got to make it easy for people to get these passes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll take a look at that. Tennis did reach out to Nikki to set up a meeting, and obviously she is in the thick of it and needs a break. So we kind of said like April. And so she'll meet with them to kind of start the transition from rink to tennis and what that whole process looks like. They too are in a similar situation where they'll keep their funds from 2022 so they can have it for a match, and then we'll take over in 2023. So unique little transition year. And then that is something for the board to consider. The board's not going to see that revenue as we head into the 2023 budgeting season. So I don't want I'm telling Eric, it's really like, I don't want the board to be weirded out, and maybe some support from PROSAB. I don't want them to think that the parks manager was a bad move. It's just going to take a minute to kind of sort out all these details financially.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think regardless of, even if we had zero revenue, the parks manager is still a good move.
Yes,
so,
agreed. I agree. I just don't want anyone to be like, what is this? What did we do here?
I don't think we should fall into that line of reasoning that, like,
Sure.
It needs to be justified by the revenue, because I don't think it does.
Well, I won't be I mean, you'll see the numbers. My plan was not to throw a narrative to that. That's for the board to then sort out.
Yeah. It is going to have to be something that's on a fee schedule, though.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Once we actually start accepting payments for passes and stuff.
Yep. Agreed.
Would be nice to know. I actually don't know sort of what generally how they charge as it is now. So it's going to be interesting to see that. I assume that we're going to try to keep it within the same ballpark.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, there wasn't any intention to increase.
Okay. So when does the tennis park open then?
I think May, post snow, so maybe not even May, June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they usually do any kind of like grand opening event for tennis?
Not really.
Well, there we go.
It's just shows up with a racket.
Yeah, it's kind of like a private little society. Like you either know or you don't. So we would like to make definitely a bigger deal. Nikki and I talked about that, like promotional things and what can we do so people know, because we know those groups weren't always in line with each other. I don't think by bringing it under us, I think we can do more to celebrate. Nikki said the last disco skate before the end of the season, they had brought in like $3,000, and there were people everywhere, and they were having a blast, like the time of their life. And Nikki's like, why is this not every Friday? And so definitely got her mind running of what other things can we do? How can we promote these better? And I think she'll have the same thoughts going into tennis pickleball.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, exciting stuff. Anything else, Ned Rink, Tennessee wise?
I don't think so.
Okay. Next is we have trails survey. Let's pull up. Miranda just sent us.
Oh, I was like, is that mine? I have it, Jesse, if you want me to pull it.
Outreach strategy. So thank you so much for sending that. That's really helpful.
I meant to send it yesterday. I'm so sorry for the delay. So what I have here, what I'm proposing is basically 2 months of outreach, something every week. But what I learned is like that virtual thing didn't really work. In person didn't work. RSVP system that didn't really work for all those events. So I tried to tailor this as close to actual events as possible. So of course it's farmers market, it's meetings, a handful of library events, but the artisan market, art at the center, Ned Gravel, 4th of July. So we had something going on each week. Plus, we'll have online platforms to get feedback. But so I'm basically proposing between April and July, gathering feedback. And so what we would do, we have the large trails master plan, and trails images, the maps out there for people to like mark on and write all over and give their feedback. My thought is after these outreach sessions are over, the Trails Master Plan Subcommittee would kind of work on updating the plan itself, identifying priorities, and doing the implementation plan. Where I'm at is, A, do you like this? B, if you do, I'd like to meet with whoever is considered the Trails Master Plan Subcommittee to talk about the purpose and the outcome of these different strategies, these outreach sessions, like what questions do we want to ask? What are we trying to get out of this? And then also, if we could get people to commit to certain events. As staff, of course, we can do all of your boards and commissions, but I think it was going to be hard for us to do every farmers market. So we'd be looking for a little bit of support from PROSAB. But would love your thoughts on this document.
I love it.
Love it. Yeah, I think it's great.
Great.
Yeah.
I love it. And also, I think doing it at the farmers market makes a whole lot of sense, and we should try to do that as much as possible. And I think a lot of us should try to make concerted effort to participate in these as much as we can. And then when it comes to authoring the master plan, I think it might be good to do a couple of PROSAB work sessions.
Sure.
In person to get the broader strokes before the subcommittee goes down into the fine details.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that is always the hard part, is like distilling. I mean, think about it, even the parking surveys, like distilling all that information, and you need to have people to run it by for sure. But I think work sessions would be good.
No, yeah, the days look good. Like it's nicely spaced out. I think it looks really good. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, cool. So who is the subcommittee these days, though? I guess I'm not even sure who's that.
I think it's CT and Brian. Is that right, CT?
I think that's right.
Yeah, and I wish it were me. I just cannot keep up with everything. But
fair.
This is why something like this is so helpful, because you can just schedule yourself in and be like, all right, I pick this one and this one, and then we can spread it out between us, and we're not going to hoist all of this on one or two people.
Can we set up like a rent to meet or like a doodle or something where people could sign up from PROSAB for these days, so we can kind of see where we have coverage and where we don't? Yeah, we could even consider just ditching a day or two of these options if no one's going to be there.
Yeah. I can do a Google Doc. I mean, just don't talk to each other in it. Just fill in your stuff and get out. No, I agree. I think that's what we'd like to see as we were making this. I think Nikki and I were both feeling like we just can't get, especially the weekend ones would be hard for us. We can't get stuck with all the weekend ones, but happy to fill in where needed. And obviously I'll take all the boards and commissions. But yeah, I'll put it in a Google Doc. Please sign up. And I think the ask would be that you sign up between now and like the end of the month. Yeah. So, is it fair though to have the subcommittee be the ones to kind of outline the goals and the strategies for these different sessions, or do you want to do that as a group?
Well, I guess Nederland Farmers Market has to be something super simple. Like that can't be anything complicated. It might even be better if it was just informational and talking to folks about the charrettes rather than like attempting to get specific feedback on particular trails from random people at the farmers market. I feel like people should come prepared to do that at the charrettes.
Do you think, so I stacked charrettes here just because these were empty weeks. Do you think I should then scatter maybe a handful more charrettes maybe every 2 weeks that we could plug into, because we don't really necessarily have charrettes. I then look at more like public meetings.
Well, there are 3 on there now, right?
I think I've got 3 total. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But I have
It seems
I have
good
like
enough.
2 back to back early on to get the excitement going. And then
Oh,
it's more like we move into farmers market. So maybe I'm thinking like maybe I'll squeeze 1 more in here somewhere. So it's like 2 farmers markets for every 1 charrette. So we can say like, come to us in 2 weeks versus telling someone in June to come to us on July 14th that they will never remember.
And I feel like we could set this up in a way where it's pretty informal and almost like self-directed. If we have the big maps and post-it notes, you could be
Yeah.
like, right where you would like to see,
Yeah.
where you would like to see trail access. Which trails do you use most? Stick it on the map, and then we can just pull it off from there. So we don't need to be super involved in
So
every
what
moment of it.
is as PROSAB, we could produce a sample map
Yeah.
rather than just leaving it completely blank. We could sort of like start the process as like an example, as sort of a demo for people, so that they can say, "Oh, I see what you guys did. But what if
Yeah.
we connected one here to there?" Or
Yeah.
rather than just saying, "Well, here's a map. Where do you want to trail?"
Yeah.
it could just be too messy.
It'd be like, and just ask some basic questions. Be like, where do you walk from home to the shop? Which way do you
Right.
go? Which way what would make it easier for you to get to where you need to go to? Do you walk
Yeah.
to school? What would make it easier for you to walk to school or to work? And mark those access points on the map.
Are seniors, Netherlands area seniors, meeting at all, Miranda?
They're bored. Yeah, no, they don't have a cook right now, so they're not doing any lunches.
Not doing any lunch or
If that
anything, because that
starts-
would be a great
If
thing
that
to go
starts,
to.
I'd be happy to. Another thing is we could talk to the food pantry.
Yep.
Do maybe some of those.
Are they doing Meals on Wheels, the seniors
They
still?
are, but they're collaborating with a Boulder company, and they're distributing those.
Okay.
It's not like the Trish's meals from back in the day. It is just like a traditional meal.
Yeah.
Maybe we could give the food pantry one of these maps, and people, as they stop in, could just draw on it and note on it.
Yeah.
I actually wondered if we could leave a map at the library, Jesse. And
And leave one at the library too. We could leave one at a few places.
I'm sure we could. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we could maybe have a farmer's market map that we bring out each time to the farmer's market. And that way we'd have like map from the food pantry, a map from the library, a map from the farmer's market, and then maps generated from the charrettes. And then we could bring them all together and kind of start synthesizing.
Yeah.
And just have who's ever on duty like take a picture of where people have marked up the map at the end of the day. We can
That's
pile all
great.
the pictures into a file.
Yeah.
That's easy to keep track of.
For sure.
Yeah, that's, when it comes to farmers market, like we have a pop-up tent and the table and all that stuff stored at utilities, and they usually help bring it out, so we can just leave it with them and have them bring it out. That's a great idea. That way they don't have to travel. No one. So then you can just show up. It's like a plug and play. Just
Exactly.
show up, get the feedback. Yeah.
How many maps would we need then, do you think, for that?
But we left it at food pantry, community center, maybe 2 there, library, farm, maybe 5.
Yeah.
And the 5th one is like a traveling one. But maybe the Eco Lounge. Actually, I don't know. I'm hesitant to say how many.
Eco Arts Lounge. The Eco Arts Lounge at Wild Bear, they would definitely take one.
I think let me do some business outreach and see, and then I'll talk with Peter about printing and how many we need. I do think there will just be one that goes on a journey. But I think the Eco Lounge is a good place. I just want to be sure it's like anywhere where we also know that it will be protected. Like I think it's harder to do like at BNF. We can't ask them to monitor it. So yeah. I do think we also offer to have them available, maybe smaller scale. Like if a restaurant wanted one, we could just have them available.
Yeah.
But maybe we should do it. I was just thinking, like how people are going to interact with them, and there might be a way to streamline it a bit where you can either draw a trail or rank a trail in importance to you. So like, or both. So we could even have like little stickers, like a star sticker or something.
Yeah.
Like trails that get like, 15 stars. We know these are priority trails that we need to build or maintain. Ones that maybe aren't as tagged are less important.
Yeah, and we present people with a limited number of options. Like there's an unlimited number of trails, so I think having them draw like what's your priority is going to be putting too much onus on people.
Sure.
We'll pick like the top 10 that we think might be in the realm of feasibility and say, all right, put your star. At the end of the event, we take a picture of the board, we count up the stars. Very intuitive, very easy.
Simple for people.
That's why I said I think PROSAB should do a sample kind of map that starts it off in terms of what it should look like. And maybe the map,
happy to put that together.
Working map comes from the first public charrette. Because I think it'd be really helpful to say to people like, we had a charrette, the public came, this is the trail system that was identified. What do you think about this? Rather than saying like, well, I came up with this trails map. What do you think? Which I know people in that do not like because they feel like they're just being, crowbarred into the plan that was already the plan. So if we do this, if we create that sort of generic version of this map from a public charrette, I think that'd be the most effective marketing strategy for this.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. So CT, I want to schedule a subcommittee meeting anyways, probably March 30th that week. So I don't know if you wanted to maybe like get us started, and then you, me, and Brian, we can take a look at just kind of narrowing in the strategies based on maybe event type. It would be nice to just kind of outline like a standard operating procedure type thing per event of what's the outcome of this based on who our audience is.
Sure. And we're just trying to identify priorities for the next season or for 2023 as well. Like, how far out are we trying to project our ability to maintain certain things? Because some trails will be just not an option because we don't have the resources. So we should kind of be clear about, what, even as we put things to the public, like what's feasible within a given time frame that it would be useful to plan this in.
Well,
and that's got to be a limited number of trails.
Yeah, I do think though, if we want to treat this like the master plan though, we're going to want to say for the next 10 years and
10 years.
we're going to tackle this in 2029 and here's how much money we need to do it. And so I think the work really is put on us of when we find the priorities, how do we
make that?
What's the finances that go behind it? Like the master infrastructure plan for utilities, like it basically tells us by 2025 we need a new facility. I think we want to try to do something similar here. So that we know, like as town staff and as this board changes over, we know in 3 years, we're gonna tackle Wingate. And so now our sights need to be set on what kind of funding are we going for Wingate, because that's our priority.
Yeah, like almost like the envisioning process.
Right. Yeah, and I think where the envisioning process stops though, and where this needs to keep going is that implementation plan of like, let's timeline it out, what's high priorities, medium, low, and then funding. We won't know the exact amount, but at least we can get an idea of a rough estimate of cost.
Yeah.
And I also think that at every stage here, we need to impress upon people that this is everything that they're giving us is contributory, but this is going to be synthesized into something that might not look like what they drew, right? Like this is going to turn into something that the town kind of decides is the best way to move forward in consultation with us and the BOT. So it's all input, it's all feedback, but they're not literally drawing trails.
Yeah. But I think that was a part of the envision that was a little complicated because everyone was a little bit of like, where's my idea?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's like the same with incoming BOT members, like I'm gonna build this one thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Me too. I don't know where the money's coming from, but
do you have the blank I know you were working on that. It was a zoning map, I think, that we were maybe going to use.
Yeah, so I think, well, we had our zoning map that we updated so that it showed public facilities.
That's right. And
Is
town
that
owned.
still, are we still good to work off of that, or do you think?
I think that would be kind of ideal to work
Okay.
off, yeah, because it kind of outlines like town versus private ownership, and yeah, it makes it pretty simple to
I
work
have
off.
to remember where I saved that, but I do have it somewhere. And then do we want the old trails maps printed, or do we want at least the map that shows the trails printed out? Like a part of me is also thinking like supplemental documents so that someone could look at it, even if it was just in like regular nice paper.
Maybe a supplemental.
Yeah.
Because like Eric has always pointed out, like it's confusing because there are so many trails on there that are not trails.
Yeah.
So it makes it look like we've got things we don't have.
Right.
Yeah. It's like this is the trail through Old Town, and you're just on a road.
Yeah.
And I wish
I think we could have that
to edit that. Yeah.
Well, and just having the Trails Master Plan book, which I doubt anyone's gonna thumb through, but maybe having the asset list, I think would be good. I'm sure there's
just to have those out, for people to kind of look at the previous trails plan, not the 2015 one. It would be the one before that. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I pulled it out. I was like, this is a large document, and it's those. I mean, that's where I think the implementation plan CT comes in handy, because that one doesn't. It has one, but it's not quite like a comprehensive plan or a master plan. And so I think if that's our goal as a town, to really start using these guiding resources for what they're for, we need to have those timelines so town staff sites are always on the funding, because the goal is to finally get the funding to match the project versus the other way around.
Yeah, it's a dance.
Cool. So I think for me, I will get the Google Doc set up. We'll do a doodle poll, CT and Brian, who I know is not here, but we'll do a doodle poll just to maybe fine tune a little bit of this, and we'll get it up and running. And Ari, thank you Ari is in the chat offering to help at the food pantry. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Cool. So I'll get that out, but we have a plan.
All right.
Now time to execute the plan.
I mean, we do what we like. It's kind of, it grinds forward. It takes a while, but we're doing what we can.
Sure.
Agreed. Cool.
Anything else on trails survey? I think that was pretty thorough. Feel pretty good about that. Otherwise, I'll just move on to a little update from Sam on Bike Park. So he just says they're waiting till after Frozen Dead Guy Days to do some additional potential site walks with Nikki, and then so in around 2 weeks' time they're going to be able to walk some of those potential sites. He's been in communication with the Nederland Area Trails Organization and Tin Shed, and they're interested in participating. So he's just kind of making some plans for public support, and then after they've walked the sites, it's going to be public outreach on the sites, and then have someone from the various stakeholder organizations join on the site walks. Tin Shed, he says Tin Shed agreed to be a public venue, to have to be a place where people can go to review plans, and again, I'm sure we would end up doing the same and like put them in the library, community center, and a bunch of other places. And I think that is about all for now. He's just still in touch with the excavation crew. I think that was it. So I'm sure we'll get back to us on that. But yeah, again, it's locating the lands, I think is a big part of it. Any questions, or I'll just keep moving on? Okay, we'll come back to this next week. So Big Springs egress we have some route and funding status updates, and I'm sure Miranda, you can speak to some of this too. But basically, still looking for funding. The was that the grant supervisor that we had at the meeting?
Yes. Yeah. So our grant manager or grant writer, Jennifer Waltz. So we received Negoose's $525,000 as one of his top 5 community projects, which is wonderful. But Big Springs Egress costs $702,000. So we need to come up with that. I'm aiming for $200,000 just to give us some wiggle room. So Jennifer Waltz and I were supposed to meet today, but it didn't work out. So we are set to connect in 2 weeks to look at probably a FEMA grant. Not our favorite way to go. Federal grants are challenging, but so she gave us a list of 21. It wasn't like 20 grants or something like that, Jesse. It was a very extensive list. But just in narrowing it down, FEMA seems the best. So we'd like to go to FEMA for the match. We do need to bring the Doe Trail route to the Board of Trustees. If maybe it's interesting because Rick Hendrickson was like, "Do you really want to get approval before talking to the neighbors?" And it's like, I don't know what strategy is best. But
yeah, that was kind of what I was. Yeah, the process is like it kind of just needs to bounce back and forward like several times.
My feeling is don't have the board approve it. Let's like bring it to the board for discussion, discuss strategy. So as a reminder to everyone, the Doe Trail route goes through a driveway. We're gonna need to get a driveway easement. The goal would be to do so collaboratively with the neighbors. If that can't happen, the board will need to decide if they do adverse possession because of health and safety. No one wants to go there though. So how do we work with the neighbors? Do we offer plowing? Is it, here's what we can do for you. But we need kind of the neighbors and the board to work collaboratively on the route. With this 525 though, we can at least start getting the true engineered drawings done, which puts us in a better place for that match funding. So we won't just let the funding just sit there. We'll try to do as much as we can up to the point of construction. But that route, of course, is weird. And then we're in that weird time too, like you said, Jesse, of like a board changing over. But I actually put Big Springs Egress as one of the first things this new board will look at on May 3rd, because I don't want to waste too much more time there.
Yeah, every summer it's kind of everyone starts worrying about the wildfire situation. So
yeah,
I mean, it seems like with recent events, we've got to be competitive. I mean, we're talking hundreds of homes here. It's not actually that small.
Yeah, how many homes could we get like that number?
It's 225 or thereabouts.
I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, I'm sure I could, but Eric's got it.
Right.
There we go.
That's a lot. That's a lot of homes.
No, I agree. Here's the challenge of some of those grants is they require this like mitigation component too. And while that's important, really what we care about is just this access, this egress, and so the people having the time to do the mitigation, we'd rather just go for the FEMA grant that gives us the emergency access and kind of leave it. FEMA grants usually take like a year plus to close out. That's why they're not the most loved. So, but that's okay. We're going to do it. That's where this is a priority. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Ari.
Oh, bye.
Thanks, later. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the FEMA grants aren't the favorite, but they're okay. But we're going to do it. We're going to prioritize this. I think it is on everyone's radar, especially now that Negoose committed us as one of his top projects. It's the pressure is on to get that finalized.
But it also seems that there would be potentially the possibility for some support from Negoose's office because they're not going to want to see it fall through either. So,
yeah. Agreed. So that's really where we're at. And so I think really the next steps is coming to the board on May 3rd with just kind of all the components, get them up to speed, talk to them about our strategy. Yeah.
And the neighbor issue is still where it was before?
Well, no one's really touching it. I'm hesitant to want to go forward without a board even knowing what route we're looking at. It just seems very we have a new board coming, and we could have a new board be like, no to Doe Trail. We know Doe Trail is the best route. They could want Wildwood, or they could want something else. I think we really have to get the board of trustees to say, like, you're on the right path. We give you that not a 4. And then it's a matter of like, who's the best person to talk to the neighbors. Rick Durrett started that. So yeah, Rick Durrett started, but it didn't go well. And so we need maybe a different type of person to approach it.
What's like the kind of process then? Would it be, I mean, continuing for funding and just trying to think of like the ideal line here. Would it be like the cost estimates or engineer drawings and then BOT approval and then back to PROSAB and then Boulder County approval and then funding and then public outreach and then
it's
committee back to the committee and then back to legal and then back to.
So we have the OPC, the opinion of probable cost. It's Board of Trustees next to engineer drawings happening Board of Trustees, engineer drawings, neighbors, because we want to go to the neighbors with the drawing. Like, I want them to see it. And so we haven't signed an engagement agreement really with JVA because they haven't done much more than just preliminary reviews. So the board needs to give us the green light to keep going so we can then engage JVA.
And we can, I think that the 2 routes that should be presented are those 2 routes on the ridge.
Yeah.
Right, to the BOT. I don't think we should be presenting any other route.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, they could go look for, I don't want to confuse anyone. I don't even want to bring other
Exactly. We should not
to the table
on this.
If they want to ask me questions outside of it, great, but I don't want to confuse them.
I mean, like we've had the questions recently though, like people's first questions are, well, what happened to this route and what happened to the Wildwood and what happened, so yeah, just to have those.
Maybe it's a work session. Maybe it's that first work session, Eric, that we use for this versus an actual meeting to be able to like answer all those questions. I don't know. I mean, I do think it's a delicate dance. And I think at some point in time, someone's going to feel like we should have involved them sooner at a later point. I'm just not, we're trying to be tactical here, but.
Yeah. And like, I totally agree because you want to get the actual legal incentives. Like, what can we offer these neighbors? Like, we need to know what we can offer them before we go talk to them. So. Right.
So that's why it's like BOT engineer drawings, legal, neighbors, be back to BOT.
Yeah, because I know Rick is, or what kind of tax incentives, what kind of plowing incentives, road maintenance incentives, that kind of thing can be offered to the neighbors.
Yeah, and I'm hesitant to commit staff time. I think y'all saw what happened today. We're all over the place. Like, we don't have enough people, and we can never guarantee we'll have enough people. I think the board's gonna have to make a financial investment versus us committing our staff.
So that comes after.
I think, or maybe it's like BOT engineer drawings, legal, BOT neighbors. I think letting the neighbors know this is happening would be good. And maybe it's like we frame it as these conversations are coming, but we want to sit down with you after the board meeting. So give them a heads up, it's coming to the 3rd, and try to schedule just even a preliminary conversation. I worry they're hearing from too many of the wrong people. And so maybe I call them now. I don't know. I'm sure they're hearing everything and anything under the sun.
Yeah. Well, the other way to maybe. So last time that the board before this current board thought about going through the wetlands, was that a resolution that was passed?
I don't think so.
Like, was it actually a vote or was it a not a 4?
I can look. I think it was a not a 4. I don't think there was an official action taken. But maybe Jesse, do you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay, I'm gonna try to do a quick search.
It does change things a bit, but honestly, either way, I think I would prefer a resolution.
Okay.
Yeah.
A resolution that commits funds to engineered drawings with JVA for one of those 2 routes. JVA's expertise being the deciding factor there.
Okay.
Because that way, basically, we're saying, you know, the town of Nederland has resolved to do this. It's not no longer up in the air. Like, this is what we're doing. So let's talk about how we can get it done.
Okay. I'm just pulling up the aim from, yeah, the question before the board was, do you have any further direction? So. Okay, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would feel better about that too.
Okay. Do you agree with that plan then? BOT
Done.
early on, BOT engineer, I mean. happy
Yeah,
with that. Do you think
BOT, there's a resolution that goes before the BOT that commits funds to the
Yeah.
one of the two routes.
Do you think I should reach out to the neighbors and just be like, hi, hi, this is, you know, because Karen Blakemore did talk to them, but I'm not sure she had the full spectrum, and that's.
Karen Blakemore talked to them?
Yeah, and so the neighbor had asked her questions. She didn't know the answer. She had emailed Jesse and I about it. And then the neighbor was like, she was like, I'll get back to you. The neighbor said, don't worry, I'll talk to Tanya. So to me, it's like, okay, now you have 3 different people involved in with one neighbor. If I should just introduce myself and be like, call me if you have questions, probably.
Yeah. So it's going to be a discussion item.
Yep.
Then the neighbors should be made fully aware of when it's going to be on the agenda.
Yeah.
Because they're going to want to give public comment, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then it's going to become an action item.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's important that they are not the only public comment. You guys.
Rally up some others.
I think probably the best thing to do, how many neighbors are involved?
So there's 4 homes that share this driveway.
I think that all 4 should be sent an identical letter, and we should file that right from the start. It's less personal, but it's also the start of what I'm certain will be a long chain of legal events. And we should just have that as ubiquitous and clear as possible from the get-go.
Yeah, I do think maybe I might start with a phone call and then just say like, we're going to send you a letter just to recap this discussion. Because I think they're
that's a
already
nice
on
way
the
to do it.
sounds like unfortunately from the fire department conversations, they're already heading in on the defense. And so I don't know, I trust my skills. Maybe I can win over them and just have a very informal conversation. I'm new to this role somewhat. I can kind of play that card and try to.
That's a nice way. That's a nice way to do it.
Yeah, okay. Because I can maybe be able to mend. I think what sounded like it ended pretty poorly with the fire department.
Yeah, and just to put to rest that like no decisions have been made. You know, we're just it's just exploratory right now, and just to give a bit of the background on why, why Boulder County wanted us to explore alternative routes to the one that was previously discussed.
Yeah.
And then I think that maybe a phone call for the discussion item would be good.
Yeah.
If the board agrees to move it to an action item on a subsequent agenda with modifications or whatever, then I think that CT is right. They should get
Letter.
More formal letter.
Paperwork, yeah.
There's a solid kind of track record of communication, because sending them the letter that we're going to talk about it is maybe sending them a letter we're going to vote on it as an action item. That's really important. And then, the thing about this is that there's also the environmentalist component of it, where somebody is likely to find some reason why this is a bad idea from that standpoint as well. And so I just think we have to be prepared to discuss this in the context in which I think it's really important, and that is, whether or not there are environmental concerns and whether or not there are these property right concerns. The the fundamental concern here is human life
Yeah.
in the town, and like that it is again matter of when, not if, there is a situation in which Big Springs has to evacuate. It's going to happen. One of these years, it's going to happen, and we're not going to be prepared for it unless we have another route out of the neighborhood.
And none of this is ideal, but we have to do the best we can with the
Right.
geography and the layout and what we've got. Like we got to make it safe and afford, like doable.
Yeah,
Yeah, whatever conspiracy theories come up around this,
right.
we want to do this. I think we as long as you believe it, as I do, then I think that is the line that we have to continuously use, because to me that's the truth of it. It's not really related to anything else here. It's no longer really, a legacy project of a particular politician in town, because none of those people will be in office when this is built. So there really is no reason that anyone is doing this other than because we think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. No, agreed.
Plus,
Yeah,
we
which
have
I wish we didn't have. Wish we didn't have to.
We have the whole thing that happened in December, down slope, that
Mhm.
people were like, okay, so you guys have been talking about this for a few years now. And now it's like people realizing, like, yeah, this is a valid issue. It's not a theoretical issue.
See how quickly that happened. That was
Yes.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Cold Springs fire wasn't, it wasn't small either. I mean, that was a dramatic event that was right on the very edge of town, and it just happened to be on the other side. It just happened to be, in a place where it didn't hit that densely packed of a neighborhood, but it did hit neighborhoods and it did burn houses down. And
Well, I'm talking about the one downhill, and
I know you are. I'm just saying, like it's just building on this track record of the fire basically getting closer and closer.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing to think.
Yeah.
This isn't somebody just invented this idea. We've been talking about this for years.
It's
And
not
if we
going to
need
be
to
the
go-
last hard decision that we're going to have to make about this type of issue in the near future. It's just
true.
the tip of a giant spear of what we're going to have to do to get ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate all efforts that are being made.
Do you know, Miranda, if like some of the historical documents are around still? Like I know I read like a lot of the CPAR analysis is somewhere for the neighborhood, and I couldn't find them last time I was looking for them.
Well, I do think we need to add it to our website. I was actually looking for the CPOT today too. Because the new one highlights Big Springs. I mean, yes, we have the old one, but the new ones are much better documents assessing the urgency of this.
Can we please attach that to the AIM, Miranda?
Yeah. And I will send that to you. I have it. And we'll get it up on the website too, but I'll send it out to the group.
Because that really did address like some of the questions, like some of the people, like Karen has been asking recently, is like, why not the Wildwood one? And we're like, well, look, I mean, this is why. It's because the distance it's negligible. Like the firefighters it's just not going to provide that much additional safety. Like they do want it as well, but that is why this is not a priority.
Right.
That's why we've chosen the furthest east we could get. And just like we know what a lot of the questions are going to be, so anticipate them and have the answers ready.
Yeah, and the argument that we're not going to have a response that anyone will be satisfied with is frankly, it's the one that has to do with the potential for recreation on the road and the potential for people to be around other people's houses.
Yeah.
Whether it's on private or public property, there's this strange thing that happens whenever there's a government proposal that might result in another human being within earshot or eyeshot of your house, that people just have a desperate revulsion to. And it is baffling to me. I do not understand it. I will never understand it. But NIMBYism is the word that describes it best, I think. And that is what's going to be brought up.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason why it has to be in your backyard is because of where your backyard happens to be. And it's not about whether or not it's fair. It's about whether or not it's necessary, and it is necessary. Because of course it's not fair. That's not how the world works.
Yeah, I mean, like what, 225 houses? That's easily, 500 to 900 people. That's
Yeah.
it's more than just a handful of people.
It's a majority of our town, basically. It's like,
Yeah, it is. It's huge. So when I hear like people being like, oh, it's just as it's a tiny little portion of Netherlands. Like it's the biggest neighborhood in
is.
town.
Well, and that's why I think the important part is we have to offer them something. And,
Yeah.
and so that's where that question goes, what can we offer? Because they should have something offered to them, not just, hey, we just want to do this.
For sure.
Yeah.
But in the past, they have been, that has always been the way that they've been approached is what can we give you? And the answer has been nothing. You can't do this no matter what.
But at least if you've dangled the carrot and they didn't take it, you dangled it.
And we keep dangling it and we'll give it to them whether they want us to give it to them or not as well. Like, I mean, I'll make a deal with them that is very generous. Personally, I'd vote for that regardless of, their general attitude towards it. I would try to be as generous as possible, but fundamentally it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Whether they want it to happen or not.
And it's funny that they would be okay with one that's 100 feet further west, but not.
It's illogical. It's completely illogical. Like, that's the problem. Is that I don't think an argument of reason here is necessarily going to work. I think it's got to be more like we're going to have to say this is going to have to happen. Please get as much out of it as you possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah, before it's a catastrophe, please.
Yeah. And we need to know what will be most beneficial for them as well. And what kind of financial will be the most beneficial for them.
And what concerns them the most about it? Like, what is it is it just the fact that they could have people closer to their property?
Right.
Yes.
That seems to be the primary concern.
Yes. And I think that was actually one of the grants we were looking at. Remember, there was like a recreational component. It was probably a great grant for us, but that's a concern for people. We don't want anyone to feel like we now created this weird recreational and we like hid it in the form of an egress. Like it is.
You don't want to turn it into a dirt bike track. I mean, that's not what we're doing.
Right. And I think people are afraid of that. And it's like, I think we can sign it and do the best we can, but I think not even remotely promoting it as such.
Yeah.
It's like, this is for your health and safety only.
And I think just having things like making sure that the access from Magnolia is just very discreet, like it doesn't look like any place that people should be going.
Yeah, agreed.
Because you don't want like the increase of campers. Yeah.
Now, there are locked barriers that stop vehicles from being able to go in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't have a lot of hope for this to happen in a particularly amicable manner.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so, but I agree.
That's why I think we just need to be quite certain on this, that this is the right way to go. And I think the work has been done. The work has been put in. We've walked every single trail. We've brought the experts there. We've analyzed all the options. It's the option. It's the one. It's clear that this is what we have to do.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess just document that in a way that's accessible and understandable for folks.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, more to come on that one as well.
More to come. That was really helpful. Thank you, everyone. That was really useful because it's kind of ongoing and it is a big deal. So
yeah.
I think all I've got here now is discussing upcoming sessions, whether we want to try and meet in person, and then we have a June meeting date.
I'd like that, to meet in person again.
Yeah, I know, Eric. You said you're good. I'm good.
I'm good.
I will catch a ride from whoever's going leaving from Big Springs. Thank you. But
I'm good.
perfect. All right, thanks, John.
I had an absolute blast in my first in-person BOT meeting.
Did you?
It was fun, wasn't it? Just like looking at each other. I felt like I could make real eye contact with people.
Ooh.
Right? I was like, this is
I
so
remember that.
Eye contact. It's like you can't really make eye contact on a screen. It just doesn't work. So yeah, I'm glad that you want to. So, but we will host PROSAB like board meetings. We have to set it up, mics and all, in order to make the hybrid work. So I think the PROSAB and SAB are the only ones who didn't meet like that, but you will, but we won't have as many tables. We'll try to pull it down a little.
Should we just bring a laptop? Would that be easiest?
No. Well, no, because we need to be able to like hook into to our TV. You have to hook into our whole fancy system. So you can bring a laptop if you want the person virtual to be able to see your face like one-on-one, because otherwise it's just a big room view. But in terms of connecting people, we have to execute fairness in this hybrid, and so we'll just need to structure it the way we do board, which is fine. We, especially since this falls the same week as a board, assuming there's no other uses, Eman can actually probably leave the setup from Tuesday to Thursday, which would be nice. So unless there's any need for the use of the space during the day, that is his plan.
Awesome.
But we do
Yeah, so
actually
what
try
I
to have
did was-
majority. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yes. I brought my laptop CT and I muted the speakers and muted my microphone, but left my camera going just so people could see.
That was nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. That's a really good way to do it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little awkward otherwise because it's like, oh, the camera's also at this like weird angles.
Yeah, it was like who's talking? You've got to know the voice of the person otherwise to figure out who was talking.
Yeah, we tried to do individual cameras with the new microphones, and the bandwidth there is just so bad that it was gonna come. Like we lost the internet a couple of times, obviously, and that's just struggling. I think we determined there was a lot of people had joined at that time, and so it was really straining WebEx, too, which didn't help. But the trying to do individual cameras was going to create no internet.
Yeah.
That's why you get that weird angle.
I'd like to just ask a quick question. How is it that we've got fiber going up to Caribou? I got it going to the elementary school. Okay, and I've been sitting on my DSL since 2006. What are
Preach, John.
we doing as a group to get this fixed? I mean, it's not a technical issue. This is a marketing issue.
I know that's Karen Breakmore's one of her big pushes for BOT. So vote for her if you want someone to really take CenturyLink to task, because that's what it's going to take, and we are just not a big enough market to really affect their bottom line to the point where they want to make any infrastructural investments in that. That's basically what's happening.
But the small Caribou Ridge homes are a big enough group?
I think they're paying for it themselves.
Okay.
The development it has made that possible. The developer, let's say.
So we could do a street by street thing if the folks living on that street all banded together and said, we want it.
Potentially, I guess. I mean, what I understand is that CenturyLink's old infrastructure is still in place despite the fiber cable that was laid up the canyon, and they're not willing to just update it out of the goodness of their hearts.
Okay.
Well, we should take it by force. We should organize a town militia to privatize those with even better legislation.
You're on a core requestable meeting right now, CT.
I stand by it.
Get your pitchfork.
Absolutely. It'll bring the community together.
Yeah, just the little plastic ones from the toy store.
Yeah. Just a small fork.
Just a dinner fork. But yes, John, that really does need to be addressed really badly. There was a time when this board I think actually discussed it in other business, and we're thinking of bringing it back as an item. It's just there's just so many things.
Yeah.
Roger that. Yeah, because I've called them. I've talked. Yeah, they won't listen to me.
Yeah.
No, I know folks from town have pressured them in the past, or at least demanded an explanation, and Central League was basically like, it's just not worth it for us.
Well, is this something that's rural internet grant material?
Don't qualify. We don't qualify. I already looked into it. We're
Oh.
not rural
Good thought.
Is that because of the
because
median?
we are technically in a metropolitan area. We are not rural.
I'll be darned. So we're in that gray area. We're metro, but we're not metro enough.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's a good thought.
Yep. No, that's
$12 for a
exactly
gallon of
when all those grants were going around. That's exactly what I looked into, and it seemed like, and it turned out we don't qualify.
It's nuts.
Do they do it like county by county, or is it population density? Or...
County, I think.
Yeah, I think it's because we're in Western Boulder County, but I think that Gilpin has a similar problem in Blackhawk and Central City.
Did they
It's-
have cable?
Good question. I don't know. They have casinos, so I'm sure that they just paid for the infrastructure themselves.
And it's like median like earnings here are just too high to qualify too.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing how these so-called private corporations rely so tremendously on public dollars to make a profit. It's really frustrating because it should be their bloody job to
Yeah.
do this, and instead they put it on the backs of their own customers, of course, and not even through their own mechanism, but they rely on governmental mechanisms to do it.
We're gonna get you with a dinner fork any minute, Eric.
Yep.
Well, it is like a human rights issue now too. So many things that you have to do it on the computer. There's no other way for folks to do it, and there's folks really struggling to like pay their bills because they have to do it online. So
Or even work now. I mean,
to work, yeah.
we need high speed, so it's it's a all-encompassing issue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Particularly as we're building more housing and looking at building housing for lower income, that's a huge ladder up for people. Just access to reliable internet. It's
It
like
needs to be
access to
addressed.
electricity or water.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. And I don't know if there's a way to make CenturyLink pay for it, but otherwise we need to come up with a grant
They
that
could
we
at
actually
least
qualify for.
they could at least cut us a reasonable number on the infrastructure that's in place and accept a buyout for what they've got. That seems a reasonable standard.
Or the county with its 12% or whatever it was tax increase, why isn't there a pushback to infrastructure,
It's worth
Yeah, I mean,
pursuing.
whenever infrastructure is brought up, I mean, I'm on the consortium of cities, and I've just been the Boulder County Consortium of Cities, and it's just very disappointing. I mean, I haven't been able to make it to the last year because we keep having town business on the same night, which is frustrating. But at the same time, the body is so dominated by the folks down below, and their problems seem to the commissioners to be so much more urgent than ours at all times that it's very difficult for to get priority for mountain communities.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, I guess we're just talking to ourselves on that. So I'll just, anyway, when we were talking about internet, I just had to ask.
Yep.
Glad you brought it up, John.
Brought it up to as many people as I can, but it hasn't really gotten anywhere yet, but I'll keep trying.
Thank you, Eric. Good job. And I guess you've just reminded me, John, just speaking there too, is I feel like I should say a special thank you to you, John, and me, because we joined, I think it was this month in 2019. So we've just hit our 3-year mark. So thank you very much to John, and I think Chris Perry was the other person who was joined at the same time. So yeah, just a plug for you, like well done, like superb commitment to like civic public service, super commendable. It's so important. yeah, I'm pretty proud of the little crew that we started, and now I feel like we've got a thriving, active board, and we're achieving things. So, congratulations to PROSAB and to the new members too. I feel like we've just got some really awesome people on our board right now. So thank you.
Feels like there's so much to do.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Eric's like, you may nothing.
and I haven't missed a meeting in 3 years. I'll say, just
Whoa, attendance award.
Ooh, sticker.
Yes.
No, but you're right, because it was definitely a change, you know, where we'd lose 5 people. I wasn't on the board before, but I
Yeah,
know
it was.
it was
There was
just like
five
5 of
people that
7 left or
began.
something. And so, yeah, we all just kind of came in and tried to do what we could here. And now it seems,
Totally new
yeah.
board. It was we all were starting from we were all beginners at the same time. It was like, yeah, 5 people out of a 7-person board. We all started on the same date, and yeah.
Yeah,
It was
and
so
everyone was like, "Why are you joining that board?" And I'm like, "'Cause
it
I
was
think they
it
need
was a
some help." But it was like, yeah, everybody was like, "You're nuts if you're gonna go in that ring."
yeah, at the time it was kind of a failing board, and things were very contentious and very unpopular, and yeah, I think it was very brave of everyone to join during these very it was very heated time during some of the previous Barker proposals of what was going on down at the front lines of the the park development. So yeah, I think I'm just proud of like where we've come from where we were 3 years ago.
Well done.
Yeah. And yeah, thank you for everyone that's joined since, because I feel like it's just getting better all the time too.
Jesse,
And
did
on
we
that
before, yeah, say, but did we decide on, sorry, really fast, on June meeting? We need to adjust June's meeting. Art at the Center kind of scheduled themselves out thinking we would all still be in hybrid world. And so unfortunately they fall on the same day as PROSAB and we'll need the space. 2 options. We could just choose to go virtual and stick with the same date and just be virtual that day, or we adjust. And if we adjusted, my recommendation would be to push up to June 9th.
I prefer to be in person at all costs generally. So
Okay. Can we do June 9th?
I think so.
it's so far away. I don't know.
Say yes for now, and then we'll decide later. Is that fair? So I can at least adjust it on the calendar. We'll say yes.
Yeah, let's go and say, yeah, let's say tentatively June 9th for now then.
Okay, cool. And I know we missed Cynthia, and I am not the expert to give this PowerPoint, nor are we reaching the end. I guess long story short, we're looking to form a subcommittee to evaluate ways in which code needs to change to be more pro-solar. We have some issues with that. Whether it be like height, technically solar would be calculated into height, and are there things we need to look at, or impervious spaces? So we're looking to see if anyone from PROSAB wanted to join this subcommittee to talk solar.
Ooh.
You don't have to jump into what's. If not, we will bring it back. We'll bring the recommendations back to you at later times.
So yeah, I mean, what you just said, Miranda, just like set off every alarm bell in my brain.
Okay.
I think someone from PROSAB, not the trustee liaison to PROSAB, should probably be the person to do it. Yeah, the idea that we need to raise height limits because solar is that's a kind of terrifying concept, because it also seems to be kind of a nonsense idea. But you could build a solar tower for all I care. So maybe we could just exempt solar panels from height calculations entirely. And that
that's kind of the recommendation. And I guess I should have clarified that better.
Yeah.
Is like, do we change height structures? Do we change setbacks too? Because setbacks might be a deterrent for doing solar. Like, are there exemptions? When you do solar, can you have an exemption from current use limitations in order to allow for solar?
Okay.
So are you saying, like, setbacks wise, like the panels themselves need to be set back?
Well, so like if you're set back here, I'll pull up in some slides here. So like if you build your home and you decide you want to take up your whole footprint, right? So say here, you're in Mountain Residential, you're Big Springs. You need to be 20 feet from the property line and you want to build up to that 20 feet. What kind of code says now is like, no, if you want solar panels, you need to build 40 feet out in order to allow enough space to have your solar panels. So then your housing footprint has to change in order to allow, if you were to do like a ground unit, I guess, versus an above unit, like if you're going to do a roof unit though, then height becomes the limitation. I don't know if she's got a height slide on here.
Okay.
But you know, if you cover your whole property and you want to do a ground solar unit, because that's what's best for your structure.
Gotcha.
You can't currently do it under setback limitations.
Right. So ground solar panels.
What? Right, but then you've also got height.
Subject to setbacks.
You have height here where principal structure is 35 feet. So you built a 35 feet, which is not everyone. But say you did, you then couldn't put solar panels on top of your home because you built to height structure.
Gotcha. So really the solution to that is quite simple, that solar panels and solar arrays are exempted from setbacks and height restrictions.
Right. So I think we're looking to explore what does that look like, you know, like here, like if people are interested currently now, like ground mounts are just not, most people aren't going to give up square footage of their home for ground mount solar.
Gotcha.
But may not want to do roof mounts for whatever reason. They don't want to do a roof mount. And so just generally it's, you know, what our best management practices. So mainly we're looking at setbacks, but she had a couple other, it's mainly setbacks and then zoning, you know, if there's any sort of zoning limitation, but primarily we were looking at definitions of solar, setbacks of solar, and height limitations. We're kind of the areas of focus, but really it's the planning commission thing, but we wanted to share with others.
Is this something that we would want to maybe vote on?
Yeah, I mean, if you have someone who wants to be on the subcommittee, or we could just bring the ordinance recommendation back to you for your official vote as a board.
Okay, so either way, okay.
I would just say, you know, are we talking photovoltaic or are we also talking the water pipe people? Because you could do different types of solar power.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where it gets, you know, we need to, so currently there's no definitions for solar energy, which creates a little bit of complexity too. So we're also looking at adding definitions for solar that go over the variety of different systems that are available. Solar permitting takes a long time. And so how do we expedite solar permitting? You may or may not know, we reached bronze designation, but as we move to gold, we have to update our code to make it where it's easier for someone to go through solar, both cost, time, and code. And I can send this PowerPoint to you so you can see it. Cynthia's way better than me.
So cost and time is the hardest part, but code is an easy change. So that's why we're going for code.
Well, and as a part of our Safe Build survey, everyone, we have a Safe Build survey out there, please take it. In negotiating with Safe Build or with ProCode, we really highlighted solar and that we'd like to see solar as faster turnarounds. There's a company called Solar App that's free, that's willing to do one-day turnarounds on solar permitting. Right now, Safe Build is not eager to work with them for whatever reason. So we kind of want to put that into our negotiating of whether we stay with Safe Build or we go to ProCode, that we are looking to collaborate with Solar App and we want to see one-day solar permitting turnarounds.
And ProCode is willing to work with them?
Yeah, ProCode is willing to work with them, has already kind of connected with them. We don't really know, you know, why it takes Safe Build so long. I think Safe Build has acquired a lot of new jurisdiction, so that might be a part of it. But sometimes when someone submits a solar permit, even under the Solarized Nederland program, it was like 3 weeks of back and forth permitting to get installed. And so I think we just paid out the last rebate from that program, and it's almost a year later. And that's just, that doesn't work. Like if you want solar, you want to be able to move on it quickly. And so perhaps also is it solar where we just pay the pass-through fees, and does town need to take its percentage, or is this one area in our effort to be renewable energy by 2025, do we help reduce the cost? There's a lot of
I like that a lot.
yeah. I mean, I think so too. I'm like, we often, when we do variances, we just look at the pass-through cost. So I think that's what we're looking to kind of pull together, and then ultimately bring to the Planning Commission and the Board of Trustees our recommendations on how to improve solar, so that more people feel like they can go for it. So sounds like maybe I'll just bring this back, although if anyone is eager to join, it'll be a publicly noticed meeting anyway, so anyone can jump on. But otherwise I can just keep bringing back updates.
So there's one thing with solar, I've got solar, and you go through Excel, and they've got a lot of if-then statements in there in order so that you cannot actually produce enough solar to like reduce your bill. So such things as this, now they might have changed the rule, but I would think as a town, then we could probably push back on that. But some of the things were like, we're going to look at your average electrical bill over the last year, and then you can only put enough panels to have 120% of what you actually use. And then they say, we're going to buy your solar from you at 9 cents. So it comes off the roof, goes through a secondary meter, and they give you 3 cents for yours. And then it goes right back in the same wall into the other meter at 9 cents. So it's there's a 66% hit, and then you can't even modify your size of your solar panel because they've got this rule that says you're not allowed to make bigger than a certain amount. So unless we as a town fix that, I don't know. It just seems like it's not a good plan.
State law.
What's that?
They've made extra sure that it's extra hard to put up more than they decide you need. Yeah, I know what you're talking
right,
about.
but yet
Really frustrating.
you drive down the road and you see like some kind of cooperative electrical group where they got some farmland or something, and they've put like 100 panels out there, right? And so, there's some definition of a cooperative. I don't know what it is, but maybe there's like the town could turn itself into a cooperative in order to get people into this program, because it's just not, I don't think economically to anyone's benefit. They've made it, it's a feel good thing, but really they're taking a big cut. And that's all I got to say about that. Now, maybe it's changed since when I put it up, but
No,
I just think whoever's on the panel better look into it.
I think it'd be great to have somebody from PROSAB there. If nobody has the bandwidth, I also don't think that it's, it's kind of tangentially related to this board's purview. So if they're not there, that's fine, but it would be nice to have a PROSAB rep.
I will, once we have the first meeting set, I'll just kick an invite out to PROSAB. If anyone wants to jump on, you can kind of make that decision, especially when we know the date and time we're meeting. But on a fun side note, we did get that bronze designation from Solsamar, which is basically like they're saying, as a committee, we, or as a town, we're committed to solar and solar processes. And then silver is the next one we're going for, which basically says that town staff, we're well-versed in solar management best practices. Our inspectors would need to go through that too. That's been a little bit of a challenge with this Safe Built. So again, Safe Built survey. We want to make sure that we're working with a building inspector who values solar, and maybe that's Safe Built following this survey, or maybe it's someone new. We're not sure. But if you have worked with Safe Built, we would love to hear from you about your experience.
Yeah. Thank you for that rundown, Miranda. It was super helpful. Yeah.
Sorry, Cynthia's so much better at it than me, but that was the quick and dirty version.
Yeah, maybe do send us like kind of that, maybe send us that PowerPoint.
Yeah,
just to have
I
a
sent
look
that to
over.
you.
Like, I don't.
It includes the planning commission's specific questions, and then SAB obviously was the bigger version here.
Yeah.
So if you have a chance and you look it over and something comes to mind, send it our way.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't feel very knowledgeable about it, but I think it's really important, and it would be, yeah, like Eric said, it would be nice to have somebody to weigh in. I mean, just on the future of solar in parks too. I think that's something that we could think about for trails and stuff too, for future lighting needs, etc.
Yeah.
Anything else? We just have other business.
It's not other business, but I don't think that I said this during the trails master planning discussion, but this is becoming a slightly more urgent issue, I would say. The trails master plan comes up sometimes in back-to-back BOT meetings. So, I mean, it's something that really needs to get done because it ties into so many other aspects of town planning and town projects. Whether it's the TIP program trying to get, sidewalks from RTD to town hall, or whether it's the revitalizing main streets, or whether it's safer main streets, or whether it's road finding with the DDA, or parking. So all of these issues end up like somehow it all ends up boiling down to, well, do we have a trails master plan? So I really think we really need to get a roll on this and put something together that we can put before the BOT this year. And it will really help town staff, I think, also in kind of targeting priority areas and starting to put together grant funding that connects to the trail system from the rest of town's infrastructure, or at least the planned trail system.
Yeah.
Great. I'm sure we'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's why I'm so grateful to Miranda just for putting that timeline together. Like that would have taken me so long to do that. So yeah, thank
Very
you.
helpful.
I mean, I truly could not have
Really
done.
helped.
I do have a small order of other business.
Mhm.
In the Joe Smith Park up on Sundown Trail, there's a line of barbed wire running through it. I'm sure it's just a leftover one, not unmaintained fence, but I'd like permission to haul that out of there. That's all right.
Yes, please. I was like, oh, I can add it to the list, but they're going to be busy. If you don't mind, CT, that would be amazing.
It's close to my house, and it just bothers me every time I see it. I just want to make sure I'm not stepping on any toes by.
No, please.
And otherwise, Pam, if you were still here, like we would love to touch base just about the dog park ideas and maybe what we could do just to even kickstart that off for 2022. I know Nikki, like everyone is supportive, so yeah, we'll be interested in seeing what we can do if you're still there.
Yep, I'm right here.
Amazing.
I guess the main thing is I don't know where and how to start.
Yeah, I think we just where were we? We need a little refresher. Like we were just talking about parcels, wasn't it? We're like mostly identifying town parcels.
There's a town parcel as South Johnson Street butts into Spring Street. The town owns that strip of land. It's between Ty's house, the Saltieres, and the Stinton. So there's a strip of land right there. It's a regular residential sized lot between Spring Street and Breed Street. And I think that parcel would be really great for a dog park, obviously a mini dog park, not like Valmont or those giant 5-acre things, but just a small place where people can take their dogs off leash for a safe little romp and, joining together people and friendship and dog play. And that's a town-owned parcel right there. And I just would like to see if it's possible to get that designated as a dog park and how I go about doing that.
I just put in the chat and I just wanted to, so I know there was some other recommendations for that parcel. And so Nikki happened to come run across the Ties and the Polsons today. And those are obviously the neighboring properties, and they have a desire that it's left as is. and maintained as just kind of that pass-through trail. They don't want to see it developed into a possible dog park or even a sculpture area. Again, as you noted, it was town.
I'm pretty sure that Ty put in a bid to purchase that property, and I believe that he currently is using it as parking and as, I believe that that's his container storage unit that he has on the town parcel. So they have a vested interest in maintaining that property as their own, so to speak, for their parking.
The purchase
and
it was rejected, wasn't it? The purchase offer.
Yeah. And I guess I was just going to say, I recognize it's a town parcel, so we can do with it what we want. I just wanted people to know that is their desire, just so you have the immediate neighbor's opinions.
I am also an immediate neighbor. This is Sue Churches.
Hey, Sue.
Hi, Sue.
And I am not for, I would also like to see it as is.
Yeah.
Right? I'd like to continue having it as a trail that goes in between streets.
And I
then
think
how do we maintain that as a public use when it's being used privately? And people think it's private property because they're parking on it and they have a storage unit on it.
I think we need to follow up. I do know that their driveway does cross it, and so we are working on an encroachment agreement related just to the driveway, though. I need to follow up about a large container. I was not aware of that. So
that has been a very contentious parcel of land for quite some time now, and we're the board is very familiar with it. I would say, but regardless of that, yes, it is town right of way, and the town, has right of way on it, so we can do things with it. I do think it should be better maintained by town, and that it should be signed appropriately, and that people shouldn't be storing large containers or parking on it, and that's it's gonna happen, as a collaboration with the neighbors. I think, not as some kind of hammer of judgment on them, especially considering the contentious nature of recent events regarding that particular parcel. But like any proposal to do anything parks related, my recommendation always is that we need to come up with at least 2, if not 3 solutions to any problem, and that those 3 need to be presented to the public, and then after some debate, we can make some determination, post that recommendation, go to the BOT, whatever it ends up being. But I think that can be listed as one of the potential options, with all of the caveats and kind of downsides of that potential parcel listed next to it, but that we need to find some other solutions as well.
Yeah, I think just with the neighborhood and neighbors' wishes, I don't see something like a dog park or like a very highly used park going into an area like that. Yeah. But it, like we've discussed in the past, like it does need maintenance. Like it needs noxious weed maintenance, and it needs the access needs to be better for people passing through and used as a trail. But yeah, for something like just the dog park, we would need to identify a bunch of different more appropriate areas, I think.
And if we can find an even better area, then retaining Johnson as an option will actually help to make it will help us find what actually is the best spot for the dog park, right? So I don't think we should strike anything out.
No.
We need to maintain all the options that we've got, and then the best one will present itself out of community involvement and real debate and discussion.
Because it's a town-owned pocket park, and we like that's the process, was identify all the town-owned pocket parks and then identify like appropriate usage or even just like feasible maintenance for each. And I think one of
and when I was speaking with the people at the town hall and going through these maps, this was the parcel that seemed to be most applicable to this use. And that it presented itself in a community setting. It was easily accessible by a large majority of the town in the old town setting. And the other parcels that came up to mind, they didn't seem to carry that same sort of weight as far as location and ease of use and accessibility. But
I
I'll
think
go back to the
I would
drawing board.
agree to look at all the options. I think there are better options out there, especially with the parking issue in this part of town. It would be a nightmare. So that map had so many other little pockets of opportunity, Pam, that you can look at.
Yeah,
and
we did look at that, and it was really, we were thinking more of it as a walking location, not so much like the Valmont Dog Park that has a giant parking lot. That wasn't really the goal. It was really a walking location. But yeah, we'll go back to the drawing board and look for more properties. I think we're going to run into the same sort of not in my backyard kind of thing with, it's like
No,
the access.
by the way, I wasn't a part of that adjacent whole thing that just happened. I'm across the street from it, so it's not a NIMBY.
Is this Sue? Is this Sue?
It is. Yep.
Hi, Sue. You
Hi.
know who I am.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Hi,
I would
Sue.
encourage you to look on that map, Pam. Look at that parcel. It's not even listed as an open space. It's a road. So
Right,
it's
right.
not
It's a
even
road.
right.
Yeah. It's a
Mhm.
road easement for South Johnson Street.
Right. And
Yep.
so
Yep.
you know, it works great as a alternative walkthrough in the middle of the block versus going all the way around. I'd love to see it stay
Sure.
that way.
Sure.
But I think like conceptually, there is a lot of support for a dog park in town someplace, and even within the current public works, like there is support for it. Even, I mean, I support it. My dog would hate it, but I would still support the idea of it. So.
Yeah. I know there's huge support for a dog park. It's just finding a home and then making it come to fruition and making it accessible to everybody, and hopefully keeping all the neighbors happy with having some sort of rules and regulations that the dog park is not open outside of quote unquote camping hours. So,
and I had just some informal discussions with a couple of people from Public Works too, and they were kind of talking about how you could make something like that very low maintenance, and it could be feasible for
that would be the goal, because things fall apart if they become high maintenance and a lot of cost becomes associated with it, then people will stop supporting it.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that's on the owners of the users to look after, and if they didn't, it wouldn't be able to continue.
Right, absolutely. Alrighty, so you're saying go back to the drawing board and go over the public lands more thoroughly, and I'm looking for access, parking, availability, and neighbor support.
Well, also,
I
I
know
think
we
it
have
was to
some
have
support.
more than one option, right? So then you present a couple
Multiple.
of ideas.
To me,
and then it
that's the
goes.
key.
Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
Oh, that's
Right,
exactly
like
what
the
I'm saying.
trails idea. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that, it really can't just be, well, here's the only spot, right? And this is the only spot that will work, and either we do it here or we don't have a dog park. I don't think we're never going to get there, and it's going to cause a lot of division and a lot of protest. But if we can at least identify a few areas and then kind of come to a general determination of which one of them might be the best.
Honestly, that's such a good way to do it, and I feel like that would have saved so much of the previous PROSAB's headaches had they just weighed the alternatives and had a paper trail with pros and cons, the analysis laid out.
Right.
You can follow that trail of thought back in time.
Right.
Springs Park has any potential, off of Lakeview, near the reservoir. I don't know it very well, but it's a larger area and it's further away from people's houses, so I don't know if there's any potential around there.
Are you talking about a property that backs up to the lake?
Sorry, say that again.
Are you referring to the piece of property that backs up to the lake?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we did wildfire mitigation in there about, oh my goodness, 8 years ago, I think.
Because I
That's a
mean,
nice piece of land.
Sam's got all this list too, because he's also going through kind of the same process with town staff right now to identify potential lands for bike park. I feel like identifying potential lands like this could all be bundled in.
You know, that would be really nice if the parcel were large enough to accommodate a multi-use. So if a family were to go there, then part of the family could take puppy to the dog park and the other one could take somebody
Ride their
to the
bike.
bike park.
Yeah.
That'd be nice to work
could be
in
interesting.
partnership and
Well,
make a multi-use area.
the idea of the bike park right now is still the primary site that they're looking at is the Ned Rink and Racket Park, right?
So the-
Open that
uh,
zone.
Probably not, because the concern is if we have to mitigate trees, the melting for rink just worsens. And so it's not, Nikki's actually would like to consider pushing it down to Chipeta because we can't really grow grass on that west side very well. And so that might be an appropriate space. So there's
Even
really some things to consider for both.
like, what about, I know we've, but like the space around Caribou Room.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I think it can't be close to rink. Whatever happens is because we just short this. So
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Caribou Room is surrounded by public lands.
yeah.
So it's an interesting idea. Yeah, I think there are definitely things to explore.
Sure. Okay, so
I
Can
wouldn't
we put this on the
take
agenda
South
for-
Johnson off the table. I would leave it on the table, but find other solutions and allow us to do that whole pro and con system so that we can find what actually is the best solution for the town as a whole.
Yeah, you've got to leave it on the table just because it's part of town parcels. Should I put this on the agenda like as an actual item for next meeting, and then we can just discuss a bit further? If you want, Pam.
yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you
Oh,
were
you're
asking
good.
me.
Yeah, I mean, I'd just be happy to just add this as like an actual item too on the next agenda if you and kind of will bundle this
Absolutely,
in.
that'd be lovely, and then I can come back with some more hard and fast data and some possible locations, and maybe take it another step forward.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Can I ask a quick question, Pam?
Sure.
If there were a fence around it, is a forested dog park an option?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I just wanted to make sure that was something that we were thinking of, because there are some nice forested areas that are public lands in Ned that can use mitigation work, and maybe this would be a good excuse to do that mitigation work. We're going to build a dog park here.
Sure, absolutely. I know a ball
sure
could be
would,
tough
wouldn't
in
it?
the forest as well as an open area, and my dogs, they go out with me and we work the horses, and they're running all through the forest when we're working the horses. And yeah, that would not be a hardship at all.
Cool. It sounds like maybe a quintessentially Netherland thing to have a forested dog park. So
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? It would be.
Yeah, clear up some ground cover, like all those sticks, all the
right.
fetching sticks. That's just free mitigation.
Yes, the ground fuel mitigation.
Yeah.
cool.
Okay.
I'm liking where this conversation is going.
Yeah, me too. All right, we got
right,
you on for
that's terrific.
next month. Thank you so much. This is how
Thank
things
you
happen.
for bringing that up tonight for me.
Thank you.
And thank you, Sue, for coming along too. Like I just make sure like there's definitely no decisions being made on any parcels anytime soon. It would all go through a long, lengthy, robust public process.
Yeah, thanks for hearing my concern. I wasn't part of that whole original issue with my neighbors and their desire to get that parcel. So I just want to be very clear about that.
No, like very welcome. Like it's just so nice to have people come and participate and like give their comment. It really helps. It really helps us. So thank you. Any other business? All right.
Let's get South Johnson Street signed.
Yeah, let's get some signs. That'd be nice. Some signs up.
The first step to anything is just putting a label on it.
True.
Yeah. I mean, the sign for Chipeta, I know Nikki was talking about it last meeting, that the engraved rock signs, they're so nice. They last, they're done once they're done, and they look really good.
And getting one for Flaherty and for Big Springs Park and
Flaherty has one.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can talk to her about it.
But let's identify which ones need signs. And that will just be nice for people too. Like I've learned, I didn't know half of these parks were town owned. I've got like one just down the street from me. I had no idea. I've like lived next to it for years. So yeah.
Which one is that?
The Doe Trail. There's like right on the corner of Doe Trail and Alpine, like a big hunk of chunk V-shaped parcel. It's beautiful. I would have let my dog romp around in it loads of times if I'd have known.
Like Doe Trail and Alpine, you say?
Yeah, like right where the trail starts on that sharp V kind of.
That is town of Net?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of pocket parks around Ned that I don't know about either.
There are tons.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no way that you would know unless you look at find the zoning map with the
Right.
parcels.
We have that nice little map on the bridge that shows all the properties around the Nederland area. It's quite an expansive area. I wonder if we can have a little map there where people stop and look at the creek that says, here are the pocket parks. Take a little walk and go visit the pocket park.
That was part of I should ask just an update on the TIP grant thing. That was one of the things that PROSAB weighed in on, is we wanted a nice public trails map somewhere near the RTD station was the goal. So we'll have to follow up on that.
If we put it in you don't know if we put it in the grant application.
I don't know if we put it in. No, that was the one thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it is funny to live here for so long and not know so many things about the area.
Yeah, thank you. That's sparked some other thoughts. Okay, any other thoughts? Doing good. That was very productive. Okay, I think we've all got homework again. Yeah, if there's nothing else, I guess we'll call it.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for your involvement.
Thank you.
9:15. Meeting adjourned.
Nice. Bye, folks.